So let me begin with an issue that I talk about every year, and that's village-built clinics. As you know, we see great benefit from that in Alaska, but also this issue of the 105L leases. Since the Manilik decision a couple years ago, we have been trying to figure out what the impact of these costs that are mandated for the leasing costs when tribal facilities are used to operate IHS programs. So the FY19 omnibus provided $36 million to support both the 105 leases and the VBCs. So as I understand it, the budget that we have in front of us does not include separate funding for the leases. So what I'm trying to understand is basically how we are going to address the need for village-built clinics, but also this mandate under the 105 leases. So can you update me in terms of what you anticipate the estimate for the 105L costs are for this year? What funding are you planning on using to support these? And I mean, is this a trade-off situation here between providing clinical services and meeting the lease funding requirements? Walk me through where we are with VBC versus 105Ls.
Thank you, Chairman Murkowski. And this is definitely an area that we've been working on very closely over the last 2 years. We've had funding provided in the past, as you noted, for village-built clinics. $11 million 2 years ago. Our area director in the Alaska area, Mr. Chris Mandragon, held formal consultation on the use of those funds, and it was determined that $5 million or $6 million of that $11 million would be set aside specifically for village-built clinics. The other $5 million would be used for this new requirement to fund 105L leases. Since that time, with Congress's support, we've now got additional funds to address 105L leases. We've initiated tribal consultation.
Where have those come from? Have those come from the village-built clinic account? What I'm trying to understand is how we're meeting the needs on both accounts. And if you're taking from the VBC account to supplement your requirement under 105L, I'm going to have a little bit of heartburn with that. So how are we distributing the funding between the two responsibilities that we have here?
Thank you. We are using $5 million of that $11 million that was identified for village-built clinics for 105L leases.
Okay.
Many of the village-built clinics have pursued 105L as their option as opposed to the VBC specific money. So in that sense, the $5 million that's been put forth towards VBCs is being used for the same clinics. In the most recent years, we've been consulting with tribes on what other funding source that we have the discretion to use, should we use to meet the unmet need for 105L leases. Last year, the total need grew to about $25 million by the end of the fiscal year.
Right.
So we were putting it into a situation where we ended up having to pull from our inflation increases to make up for that gap. And this year, we've initiated consultation with the tribes to ask again, what are your recommendations on both the short-term and the long-term fixes to meet this need? So
as I understand it, we can just anticipate that number is going to increase from year to year. If it was $25 million last year, what do we expect it to be in the next fiscal year?
Thank you, Senator. As of today, that need has grown to $54 million. In our initial conversations with finance and tribal leaders, we do anticipate that number could be as high as $138 million in fiscal year 2020.
So walk me through that then. If it's 54 million is the need now, how are we funding to meet that need? And if we know that that's effectively going to more than double the following year, again, how are we seeing that reflected in the budget and the breakdown?
Currently, it's very difficult for us to assess what that dollar amount's going to be because we don't have any single inventory of the buildings that are owned by tribes throughout the country and how many leases are going to come forward. So we are putting together a technical work group to help us come up with a methodology for identifying the out-year costs. But at this point, we're really looking to make up that funding source with discretionary funding that we have available to us without taking money away from any existing annual funding agreements or from direct services.
So very quickly, because I'm a minute over my time, but I want to make sure that I understand where we are right now. How much will you be looking to take out of a discretionary account to backfill to make sure that we're meeting the needs within this budget?
I'm going to turn to my CFO to give me a quick count.
Okay?
Currently, based on our need of 54 million as of the end of April, we anticipate that with the generosity of Congress and certainly the support of the subcommittee, that the 36 million in total, again, as Admiral Wiaki mentioned, 6 million of that already goes on a recurring basis to the VBCs. So the remainder of that fund, those funds, along with some decisions.
So you got 5 million there.
Plus the $25 million increase. So we have a total of 30 million in the tribal clinic funding line. And what we are looking to do is through the tribal consultation and urban confer, determine what the next steps would be. Part of the consultation included a proposal that we may need to use those inflationary dollars similar to what we did in 2018, but that decision has not yet been made. So you can expect that we will certainly be in contact with the subcommittees.
Well, and I guess my frustration is we had much the same conversation last year and said, we don't know what it's going to be in this, the next time we come before the subcommittee for the ask on this, but we know for a fact that it's going to be more and we're going to have to start to grapple with it. We're now grappling with it, but it doesn't sound like we have any better funding solution, which is concerning, and you don't see it wrapped into the budget when you're looking to take it out of some vague discretionary account. Know that I'm very worried about this because I only see this number growing, and unless and until we can figure out how we're going to meet this obligation, it's going to be a situation not unlike what we faced for years with our failure to comply with the obligation to fully fund contract support costs. So we've got to get our arms around what is happening with this, the requirements, the obligations, and how we budget accurately for it.